right. Good morning, everybody. It is 6 a.m. in the balmy Pacific Northwest. How are you doing, Jose? And welcome back to my show, my friend.
Good afternoon, Rick. It's 2 p.m. here in the United Kingdom zone time, so it's the afternoon for me. Thank you very much for waking up so early and having me in the show, but it was the best time we could coordinate, both of us, isn't it? So thank you, everybody who's watching us, and thank you, everybody who will be watching us, for being here with us. And it's a pleasure to be with you again, Rick. It's always a pleasure to be invited to this great YouTube channel, as usual.
What a noble guest. Like, I don't even need to do an intro if you're gonna do one that like that's that good, man. Thank you. So it's been 8 months since we've had you on the show. We talk every now and then. You've been tearing it up out there, including the London GT, where you were the best raked Grey Knight there. And what else have you been up to, man? What's your what's Ordo Hispanicus up to?
Well, for whoever who doesn't know what is the Ordo Hispanicus,
All right, I got
nice
coffee, man. It's good. I'm good.
nice reference to David Bowie, by the way. The Ordo Hispanicus is a Spanish expat community. So we're basically all the Spanish people who live abroad, mainly in Europe, obviously, but we also have actually I think there is a guy from Seattle as well. So we have members all over the world,
Nice.
and we have an international team that usually gathers once per year to attend the Talavera GT, which is the biggest team event in the world that happens in Spain once
Oh,
per
wow.
year. So these last months, unfortunately, I didn't attend as many events as I wanted, mainly because something called life, that gets in
Yeah.
the way.
Me
Annoying
either,
as
man.
usual.
Me either. My first RTT of Nephilim is coming up in like a week.
Really?
Yeah, I've been too busy, man.
Well, in my case, I got married, moved houses, changed jobs, all in the same month. So
Well,
that obviously took most of the year only
yeah,
preparing stuff and not
swinging
playing
big,
as much
dude.
as I wanted.
Well, congratulations, congratulations, and congratulations. That's three big,
Thank you very
big
much.
changes, man.
All of
Um,
them on the same time. Now I can die in peace.
there you go. That's that's the way. All right. Well, I'm glad you're here. Let's get into it. So let's get into your list from the London GT. I know this is a little old. The London GT was 2 months ago, but this, as you said, this is still the list that you're running to this day. And then how is it? Let's just talk with. What's the difference from your last list? I know that was 8 months ago, so you probably had like a dozen list variations between them. But what are the big changes that this list is trying to do that your old one wasn't doing?
Yeah, of course. The main changes, they were basically uh, taking advantage of the new compared with the last episode we recorded, Armor of Contempt. So the last time we talked, Armor of Contempt didn't exist yet. So what I have done, I have added an unit of 5 paladins with armor resilience. That was a combo that wasn't as useful before as now.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the big add to the list. Also, because of that, I'm not playing so many interceptors as before. I used to play 30, then 20, 15, and now I just play 5-5. I just play 10 interceptors,
That's bold.
for example.
That's bold, man.
Hmm?
Every time I
Well,
play, like I want more interceptors every single game.
you're right, but if you're playing interceptors, I get the feeling that you're pushing yourself to be more aggressive than you need to, if you know what I mean. Because as soon as you throw 5 interceptors or 10 interceptors to the enemy, you lost them. They're gonna die.
It's true. Yeah.
And that's how many points they were 130,
Yeah.
120
Well,
each?
it's 130 for a 5 man.
30,
Yeah.
isn't it?
They're like
So if you
27
throw,
points each or something, I think.
yeah, exactly, more or less. If you don't put obviously any kind of demon hammers or anything like that, just with the normal weapons.
Yeah.
But we're talking
Hammers
about
on
if you throw in,
interceptors. Woo.
oof, yeah, that's bold. That is really bold. But if you throw in 10 guys, that's 260 points, which is, it's a lot of points.
Yeah.
You're throwing a big chunk of your list into the enemy. They're going to kill something, but they're not going to kill as much as you want to. My philosophy for Grey Knights is being surgical, not being, like a hammer into a piece of metal. You need to be surgical. You need to be tactical.
So what I'm hearing is you're telling me to go play orcs.
Well, if that's the way you play Grey Knights, yes.
I am aggressive to a fault. But I'm also, I've only been playing this game competitively for like 2 years, really. So, just I'm an aggressive guy. What can I say? Hey,
well, I play interceptors as I like to call them melee sniper.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that gives you a clue about how I play them.
Like you said, it's very surgical. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, let's. I don't know. You already talked about them, so I want to focus in on it. I love paladins. What Grey Knight player doesn't love the idea of running paladins? You have armored resilience and ethereal castigation as your two choices, which I absolutely love. The ethereal castigation choice, because obviously they can't charge after that, but that lets them peek and shoot, or they can just double move, which to move your paladins 10 inches is incredible instead of 5, right?
To be honest, I normally use it for the double movement. I don't care about the shooting. It's for at mid game, late game, when you already, let's say, clear the flank that your paladins are playing. Then you can use the extra movement to get into your opponent's objective and sitting there saying, well, come for me, try to kill me, because you're not going to be able to do it.
Sindri just took my question right out of my mouth. Is the apothecary there to follow the paladins around to give them obsec and keep them alive?
Exactly, yeah. That's usually I play two flanks. With one is the fast flank with the interceptors. The other one is the anvil. You're playing a big 5 paladins, the apothecary, and the librarian, all merry and happy together.
A good old team of just like punching. I'm trying to translate some things that are being said in chat. If I'm completely honest with you right now, because not a Spanish speaker.
Okay.
But I'm trying to make sure that I'm answering all the questions being thrown out. But speaking of which, chat, if you have any questions, that's why we do these live. Throw them in there. We'll try to get them answered. This is a lot more of a free-form video than I even usually have, which are pretty free-form anyway. So just throw it out there. All right, so the apothecaries and the paladins, or the apothecary is following the paladins around, and it sounds like you try to do like a flank thing. You're not playing like Dark Angels Terminator style, where you just grab the middle and then say, come and take it. You're always moving around the board.
Yeah, kind of. Normally, I usually abandon the center.
Okay.
I usually don't fight for the center because I cannot. I don't have the punch. I neither have the punch nor the resilience to contest the center in a for more than a couple of turns.
Yeah. Even with Armor of Contempt,
even
armored resilience paladins, yeah, they can only take so much,
Yeah.
So Dominic is asking you what your secondaries were, and I was going to point out you bring servitors, which I love. They're excellent action monkeys, and I assume that's exactly what they're doing in this list. So when you built this list, what were the secondaries that you had in mind?
I always play. One of the main things about my list is teleport assault. Is the secondary that I take 90% of the time, unless I'm playing things like Custodies or Death Guard, very difficult stuff to kill.
Mm-hmm.
But my list is built around the concept of teleport assault, which is for the people who doesn't know about that. It's a secondary that if you come from deep strike, you teleport, you do any kind of redeployment during the game, like the Grey Knights are doing every single turn, isn't it? If you kill anything during that battle round, not turn, that is important because if you go first, you teleport and you don't kill something, you still got the opponent's turn to score.
Mm-hmm.
So any of the units from your army which teleported and they kill something, just one unit, you get 4 victory points, which is, to be honest, a really good mission in my opinion. If it was 3 points, I wouldn't take it. But for 4 points, as soon as you do it 3 battle rounds, you're fine. You already got 12 victory points.
So does that mean that you have all your well no your Dread Knights can't even start in Deep Strike because they don't have the teleporter either.
You don't need the teleporter for deep
Yeah.
striking the Dread Knights.
Yeah, I know you can just do gate, but it's common to see the teleporter on the Dread Knight because if they shunt forward and then kill something that also counts towards
That's why
teleport assault.
my normally the plan of my list is first round I got my Grandmaster with the teleporter.
Mm.
So it's the only Dread Knight that has the teleporter is my Grandmaster. So normally I put on Deep Strike 2 Dread Knights and then 2 on the battlefield, which is a Grandmaster and another one. So in the first battle round, I normally shunt my Grandmaster and then I teleport the second one. So I got 2 models able to shoot and kill something. And with 2 Dread Knights, you can kill something. It's impossible you cannot kill at least something with 2 Dread Knights. One Dread Knight is not enough. It's never enough. But 2 is normally fine. So that first round, I usually teleport the Grandmaster to the front and then the second Dread Knight a bit in the back. Because the Grandmaster, if they shoot him, he can just teleport away,
Mm-hmm.
go back safe into safety. Then
What an
second battle round and third
an
battle round,
awesome
I
relic.
deep strike the other guys.
I love that relic.
Yes,
Anything that gives me the opportunity to act in my opponent's turn is super fun.
it is.
It so um I know we're kind of jumping around your list, and that might be off-putting uh, to to some folks. I'm focused primarily on the interesting tech that he's bringing in his list, which also leads to another question that's being asked by Alberto in chat about your Rhino. And I think this is an interesting tech choice that you had last time. And it's to catapult up those interceptors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's not the same as the Space Marines because with the Space Marines, the jetpack guys they cannot embark in rhinos, but the interceptors can. So it's a big difference we can take advantage of. And like you said, I normally use the rhino as a catapult. In first turn, I can move 15 inches and then try to shoot, purify an objective if I take Purifying Ritual, for example, which I normally do quite often, and then charge something. And if you, especially if you go second, you can kill whatever the opponent has put in the middle of the table. And normally I don't throw my 10 interceptors in one go. I usually do 5, then 5.
Right.
And also I believe it or not, I also embark the servitors inside of the rhino sometimes.
Is that just to
Because
protect them?
no, because it's fun and it's annoying for the opponent to have 4 guys which can disembark and then touch an objective, and there are 4 bodies. They are
Yeah.
not obsec, but they are 4 bodies.
Mhm. So your list is doing teleport, assault, purifying ritual most of the time. What do you do if you're going into a opponent like Votann that every time you do an action is better for them, right? Like,
I normally take things like mental interrogation, which
okay,
is also achievable, and you don't expose yourself so much doing action. To be honest, I played against Votann and I didn't have any problems with them for the moment.
yeah, we'll see. There's some rumor engine stuff that is very clearly leagues, but um, Do you, Dominic is asking then, so you always start with interceptors in the Rhino, all 10? Or it sounds
Uh,
like 5 and then the servitors maybe, and then 5.
it depends. If I
Yeah.
got an objective that is like 9 inches away from the deployment zone, which is normally the central one, most of the deployments, sorry, in most of the missions, I normally put 5 interceptors and then the servitors, so I
Okay.
can disembark the servitors, advance, so I'm controlling the central objective with them, and the opponent must do something and deal with them, either
Yeah.
charging or exposing to shoot, and then it gives me the opportunity to counter charge or counter shoot in my turn.
Right.
But yeah, 90% of the time I got the 10 interceptors in the Rhino in one of my flanks.
Okay. So there you go. So 90% of the time, all of them are in the Rhino. Very, very cool. And then those servitors also give you the option, kind of like you said, you can screen with them, you can be annoying with them, but then also you can leave them on your home objective and not like
Yeah,
babysit them with. I mean, as an
I know.
elite army, having a whole strike squad sit on an objective in your backfield all game feels kind of bad. You're like, I
Yeah,
want those
absolutely.
points up front doing something.
Yeah, also I use them to bodyguard characters that they sit in the back, like the Tech Marine, for example, which is the one that I usually leave in the back.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. So the rest of your list is pretty standard. We have the Mortal Wounds Librarian. We have a Tech Marine with Gate and Divination. Interesting choice because I don't see. Is it on the apothecary? Yeah. Okay. There it is. It's like, where's uh your warp shaping? I was gonna.
It's in my apothecary,
Yeah, I
yes.
was gonna ask if you're one of those guys. It
Normally,
was like I choose
it's on
shadows
my
and say it in all game.
I leave it to my apothecary because I normally do word shaping once per game. Sometimes I don't even do it. And because my apothecary is usually the one who's in the front, I
Hmm.
normally use him for mental interrogation or warp ritual. That's
Yeah,
why he's the one which is having a power that is not so, something you're not gonna cast every turn.
exactly. Yeah, I was just about to ask that you must have um a reason for that
Yeah.
clearly, because I mean I do the same thing. Like whatever your most throwaway HQ or character is ends up with warp shaping. Um, so we got some more questions, which is great. I love this. Thank you, everybody. With the paladins, apothecary, and librarian, turn one, do you go into Tide of Celerity and advance them very quickly, or I guess it's asking what tides you kind of play in?
Normally, to be honest, I just play two of them, Tide of Shadows and Tide of Convergence.
Yeah.
I don't usually play Tide of Celerity, only when I'm trying to do, when I really want to get charges, when I'm going to have a turn with many 7, 8 inches charges, I want the Tide of Celerity, but I don't use it quite often, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I don't
So
move. I don't move the paladins really often. They usually stay in an objective in a flank, and that's it. They don't move at all.
really, man, were any? I mean, probably not, but I need to watch you play this list because like I'm getting it, but I guess well, we were actually talking this about this before the show started. What kind of terrain are you playing on? Because clearly you must have lots of line of sight blocking ruins and stuff, something that allow your paladins to like survive against say a Chaos Knights list, which puts out an extraordinary amount of shooting.
Well, it. I play what is called the UKTC, which is the English or the British uh, terrain map that is used in every single big GT in here. Same as the London GT, and to be honest, it's not really heavy in terrain in terms of pieces of terrain. You got two big pieces of terrain, four medium-sized L's,
Hmm.
and another four small L's, and that's pretty much it. And
Okay.
one barricade that gives you a bit of dense cover.
Okay. So that's a
But that's
pretty
pretty much it.
standard terrain.
Mm.
terrain layout? I'm just asking, like, is it GW terrain? Is it player plays? You know, okay. So it's more like WTC, right? The 2 big
No, no,
ruins and then 4 small
it's
ones.
not. It's not like WTC. WTC is really heavy terrain.
Okay.
This one is a bit lighter. It has shooting corridors, but if you have a clear shooting corridor, you have a dense cover in the middle, so you're gonna have a -1. But that's
Okay.
pretty much it.
Oh, interesting. Cool.
What I normally don't think about, you're too focused on why my troops don't die. I play what is called the death triangle, okay? So I always focus on drawing a triangle on the battlefield.
Uh-huh.
So I always focus on those 3 points, okay? So it could be my deployment zone, central objective, and a flank.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care about what is happening in the rest of the battlefield. That's my power zone. That's my no-no zone. You cannot get in here. I got the power inside here. Come to me if you want to, but I'm gonna win this game.
Okay.
That's what I always
All
focus
right.
on. The
That's
death triangle. Focus on the triangle, Rick. Triangle.
that's good advice, man. Uh, good advice.
you can
I just
you cannot control the whole table. You need to choose what are you
right.
gonna defend.
Yeah, I just think, you know, I was thinking of you know, how you're moving. If you do plop them down, like if you just gate them 1 turn and they never move the rest of the match, you know, I'm trying to visualize
Yeah, of course.
is all.
Normally,
Yeah.
my paladins just they I deploy them, and in the first or second round, they run a little bit, and they grab an objective in a flank or in the center, and that's it. They don't move from there. Then I got my interceptors crashing against the enemy. The opponent doesn't want to push that flank, and by the time they're dead, I already deployed all my deep strike, which are 2 Dread Knights plus the Grandmaster, and then the other Dread Knight usually teleports as well. So I usually have one flank controlled by the Paladins
I
and the
see.
other one controlled by the Dread Knights. 4 of
So
them.
you're doing a bunch of threat overload. Like
Yeah,
your turn 1, you're a little cagey. You probably start in shadows most of the time.
yeah, most of the time.
Yeah, and then turn 2, like there's just so many things they have to kill on the board that they're like, I guess I'll
Yeah,
start with a Dread
normally
Knight.
I apply what I call the selected pressure. So I
Hmm.
apply pressure to the opponents, so they need to deal with a threat like the 10 interceptors. But to be honest, they are not important to me. They are disposable troops. What is important to me is my bunch of paladins, which are very difficult to kill, and my 4 Dread Knights, which are very difficult to kill as well. And
Hmm.
if, to be honest, if the opponent focuses on killing my Dread Knights, so be it. They cannot kill both things. They can
Yeah,
only kill one thing. You know what I mean?
yeah. Excellent points. We got a couple more questions. Looks like there's a question now from Sindri again, asking about swords versus halberds. I'm gonna go out on a limb and try to answer for you. You let me know if I'm wrong. I see lots of halberds on things that don't have hammer hand, and I see swords on things that do. Is that
No,
what's actually in here?
all halberds.
Oh, wow. Yeah, look at that.
All
Sindri,
halberds.
good point. Excellent
I'll
choice,
tell
man.
you why. I'll tell you why. Normally, invulnerable save nowadays is always 4 up. So if you
Yep.
have something better than -2 AP, it's usually a waste. You always have armor of contempt, of course, but I always prefer to have a strength 6 because there is a lot of toughness 3 around the tables nowadays,
Hmm.
rather than having strength 5 and AP 3. I find the extra strength more useful than the extra AP nowadays.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
why.
I think it's pretty common to see, and I've done this too, that, you know, like strike marines, terminator squads that have
Mm.
access to hammer hand going for swords, but we're also seeing a lot more of like you can't reroll wounds against this, right? Like Votann, uh, Iron Warriors, Salamanders, and our Martyred Lady. I think, you know, you can't reroll wounds against them anyway.
Mm.
But and you're, I think we were talking before this, and you said like you struggle into Harlequins is probably your like toughest matchup, right? And they're all T3.
Not really. To be
Oh,
honest,
okay.
I think Grey Knights are one of the best factions to deal with Harlequins because of the quantity of mortal wounds we can
Okay.
do. Also, we got like 20 shots of Stormbolter per unit. That's
Yeah,
a nightmare. That's a nightmare for Harlequins.
that's true. Now that they can't run 9 Void Reavers, we're doing a lot better. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Sindri, excellent catch, man. That is a good question. I know there's been a lot of people with asking that on like the Grey Knights Facebook group, and you have some really strong opinions in all three camps, like all swords, all halberds, or a combo of both. Uh, so that's
To
an
be honest,
interesting
I
take.
think that doing a mix of, like you say, guys with hammerhead and swords and halberds and guys without hammerhead, I, I think could be the sensible approach. But I'm a man of strong opinions and I'm a man of extreme tactics. And I usually say, why not kind of weapon for everybody? The strongest one. And then normally I don't use hammerhead so often. I prefer a smite.
You're
I
smiting,
prefer
yeah,
to smite. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's really you're smiting or you're using the Brotherhood power, which in Prescient Brethren is not.
Oh, I
I
love
can't.
that. I love that power. I
I
love
can't
the
even.
oppression. Yeah.
I can't even remember what the Prescient
It's
Brethren
the one
power is right
that
now.
you pick an opponent, a target, sorry, and if they move, advance, charge, or fall back, they get
Ah,
mortal
that's
wounds.
right. Yeah,
I love it, Rick. It's one of the best powers we got.
it's
If you
great.
play that, it's great. If you play against Catans, Necrons, you can kill one of
That's
those
that's
in
exactly.
one turn.
I was just gonna say it has to like annoy a Baden or like a Satan shard pretty badly, or Gazgul. You
Or
know, like
Gaskell, yeah.
all of those characters with the like wounds per phase.
Or even
And if you make them move,
even Harlequins, for example, these troops, you know, they're sneaky guys. You can the thing about this power is you can do it without line of sight. All right.
mhm,
So you can pick a unit of troops, and before they charge you, they can lose up to 6 bodies
wow,
before they
that's
even touch you.
yeah. See, I mean, everybody takes PB because command points are incredible,
Mhm.
obviously, especially in the Nephilim meta where you're starting with 2 maybe,
Yeah.
um, and that incredible stratagem, like that is such a like wacky good stratagem. As long as you're not going against can't reroll wounds.
And somebody has a problem with Bolton here. Are you okay, Rick?
No, I actually love them. Here, look, uh I'm building my little fuck wagon right now. So
Rick, using this model here, would you mind to tell me where the Bolton player touched you? Was it here? Was it here?
this is very public, and now I'm uncomfortable. No, I just that's a strong mechanic, which actually leads me into what I wanted to talk to you about next, which is we've seen a lot of really wild changes in the meta lately. You're seeing a lot of like trans hitmen now, if you will. That's what everyone's calling it. We're seeing, I mean, that started with Harlequins. We're seeing, but now it's on like various chaos factions. I think Iron Warriors get access to it with a psychic power. We're seeing lots of cannot reroll wounds, which like a lot of people come to my channel as well because I'm a Death Watch player, and Death Watch and their chapter's entire thing is rerolling wounds. How do we get to reroll wounds against this or that or this? And when you face like Iron Warriors, like, oh, I'm like shitty Ultramarines now. Like you took away everything that makes my chapter special. So I'm wondering, obviously that doesn't affect Grey Knights anywhere near as much as it does, but it does
No, not
affect
really.
how you're thinking, what powers you're choosing, what weapons you pick. Um, so with like Guard, Votann, all of that out there right now, how are you adjusting? Is it your playstyle or is it your list that's actually changing?
It's more my play style, to be honest. I think that the kind of list that I'm playing with maybe a very small, fine adjustment is more or less the most competitive thing we can play with our codex right now. Obviously, there's always room for discussion about, depending on the kind of terrain you play in, about how to play it in a different way. If you play in, for example, like WTC, which has more pieces of terrain, there is room for discussion about using so many Dread Knights and using more interceptors. That's absolutely true. I totally agree with that. But playing more Dread Knights, it gives us more tools to achieve teleport assault, which is a really powerful secondary that we need to rely on because Grey Knights don't have many options from the Nephilim book. We are very, very bad playing things like banners or especially retrieve Nephilim data. We are really bad playing retrieve Nephilim data. If you're using strikes to do retrieve Nephilim data, you're wasting points.
Hmm.
110 points for doing an action, that's a waste of resources. Those
Yeah.
guys should be somewhere else killing something else.
I saw an interesting list where to do R&D, they had six Voidsmen and a Rhino. And that's all that those are there to do is the Voidsmen start in a corner, do R&D, get in the Rhino, move over to the next corner, and they do it on the next turn. And that's all that they do.
If I
I don't.
had the points, I would play Voidsmen. I really
Yeah.
like them.
Yeah. And I haven't forgotten your question, Mr. Jam. I'm just we're gonna go over all of that stuff here really, really soon. They're asking about what kind of changes would you make to the Codex. So actually, let's just do that now. What kind of changes would you like? Where do you feel we're weakest into some of the strongest factions? Right, like Nids. We have demons have just like skyrocketed up the rankings lately. I guess everybody found out that the flamers are competitively priced, and just throwing as many of those into a list as possible. But um, like, yeah, how would you change the codex to make it match in power level?
But we don't need to change anything in the codex to deal with demons. We already have the
Well,
tide of banishment.
yeah.
We don't need anything else.
I was thinking, more like we're seeing not the death now, but like we're seeing less Leviathan nids. We're seeing more Kraken. Guard. I haven't really dug into the new guard codex at all,
Codex,
but
yeah.
I heard like tanks got cheaper, and I don't know if they're doing really well in the rankings right now, but um,
Yeah, guard is gonna be problematic for everybody in general. At the moment, I also play Imperial Guard,
oh, okay.
and I don't think I'm gonna start playing the faction seriously until I see an FAQ because there's many things that are gonna be nerfed from that codex. Rough
Oh,
Riders, the horse riders,
yeah.
they are mental, Rick. They shouldn't exist. They're so cheap. They're 20 points per model. Oof.
Is
Oh my
Is
goodness,
that
they're so
those
good.
are the horses with like the Melta lances and stuff, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Melta Lance, they're mental. They can kill an Imperial Knight in a charge. And if they, instead of the Melta Lance, if they use the Frack Lance, I think they can deal like 50 attacks, sorry, 30 attacks per five models, something like that.
Wow.
It's mental. That's crazy, especially having access to this new HQ, the
The
big
horse guy.
general, yeah, Leontus, I think it's called.
Yeah.
The guy can give them an order so they can have like +1 to hit, +1 AP, and then the Melta Lance is AP5, something like that. And rerolls to hit, rerolls to wound, advance and charge, even obsec. You can give them obsec if you want to. And it's for 100 points. This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It sounds like Lehman Russ has got cheaper too, which is
Yeah,
bonkers.
but yeah, I don't know if they are cheaper to be honest. I think the side weapons are cheaper. but the
Oh, maybe
model
that's what
itself,
it was.
I don't know if it's cheaper.
So Sindri's asking, are you worried about Astra Militarum becoming leaf blower again, like they have been in previous editions, where just if
I was
you
also
show your face at all, you just get shot off the board?
no, I don't think so. To be honest, I was expecting a way crazier codex than what I have seen, but still there are plenty of synergies, and they're going to be a big problem, but not for Grey Knights. They're going to be a big problem for everybody. There are synergies that they need to be stopped. There's too many combos at the moment. The thing about the Imperial Guard is they can shoot a lot for a small amount of points, and you shouldn't be able to give them combos and bonuses to hit or rerolls to the Imperial Guard, because that's not what the army is about. The army is about rolling a ton of dice at a cheap cost. That's it. No rerolls, no bonuses. That's not the Imperial Guard, and it shouldn't be the Imperial Guard. But that's my opinion.
Okay.
We're gonna
So
have the problem now that we're gonna have these +1 to hit, ignoring modifiers to hit from a banner, which is gonna be that's mental. Break. That's it's a banner that gives you ignoring modifiers to hit in an aura to everybody,
it
and
doesn't
also you
ignore
and also
trans hitmen, right?
no, not really, because a trans hitman is not a modifier. It's just if you roll 1 to 3, you miss.
Gotcha.
But a part of that, you can ignore wounds, caps. So you can kill a Gaskell Draka in one turn just in
That's
shooting.
the banner does that?
Just the ban, yeah, it's a banner.
Wow, that's very good. Holy moly.
It's too good.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's that's how they balance those, right? If you go to a tournament and you're playing chaos and you have a Baden, then you have to worry about one guard player.
Well, we will see.
uh
To be honest with you, if I still don't know what the people is going to be playing with Imperial Guard, I think it's going to be a mix between vehicles and infantry.
yeah.
No, I don't think it's going to be relying only on infantry or relying only in vehicles. About infantry, we can deal with them fine with our storm bolters because we
Mhm.
can shoot a crazy amount of shots. But the vehicles are going to be a big problem because
And they're
we are
all
really bad against vehicles.
it's all I mean, guardsmen are all T3, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So our storm bolters are wounding on threes at the gate, which is super,
yeah.
super crazy. Yeah. And that's when those halberds become extra nice, huh? Wounding on
For
twos,
example.
right? Yeah. Anyway, I didn't mean to pull this off onto guard too much. So we have guard. That's brand new. Do you want to get into the demons matchup? It sounds like you're of
Yeah,
like kind of the opinion I am, where Tide of Banishment is incredible already.
it's incredible. Every
Yeah,
time I played against a demons player, I have tabled them or almost tabled them in 3 turns. The thing is normally when you play Praesian Brethren, the Brotherhood, you play them for all well, one for the CP extra and two for the stratagem. But if you play it against demons, you don't need the stratagem. The whole army gets the stratagem
that's true. Yeah.
for free. So you get the extra CPs for other purposes. And also you got -2 leadership in an aura against demons. Believe it or not, that kills
Yeah,
demons as well.
that really hurts how close they can deep strike in
Yeah.
on you and stuff like that. So, yeah.
No, it does not. It doesn't affect that, but
Oh,
it affects the word.
I
It
thought
doesn't.
part of it was how close they could. It was based on your leadership.
Yeah, but it's based on yours, not on their leadership.
Oh, okay, my bad. My
Our
bad.
aura, it gives them -2 leadership. But basically, if you kill one of their models, normally they need to roll a leadership test already because they got a -3 just
Yeah,
with one model killed.
yeah. Their 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 leadership on their little gribbly folks isn't good. I think it's what 7 or something like.
7, I think
Yeah.
8 with a banner or an upgrade. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, about that.
So I mean, not terrible, not orky level, but not great either. So you brought up Prescient Brethren. Dominic is asking, how good do you find divination? If you cast Gate turn 1, um, you get about 2.9 CP per game if you do the math. So you get about 2 a game. Do you find 2 extra CP after spending 1 to buy it in the first place is worth it?
Believe it or not, my Tech Marine usually is not the one who's casting the Gate of Infinity on the first turn.
Mm-hmm.
What I normally do, if you take a look to my list, I got Foretelling of Locus,
Yep.
the redeployment upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
I normally deploy my non-Grandmaster, the regular Dread Knight, in a position that he's able to move and being within range of Gate of Infinity from my Grandmaster after teleporting.
Got it.
So normally that's what I do because
Okay.
I want the CP.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. Okay. So the Tech Marine is there to teleport things up the field late game if you absolutely need to, like,
It's for an
get off
emergency.
a psychic ritual or yeah, okay. So your Tech Marine is generally only farming
Yeah.
command points every turn. That makes
And
sense.
giving +1 to hit to my Dread Knights.
Right, right. Which is amazing.
It is.
All right, so does that answer your question, Dominic? That seemed pretty succinct to me. And let's go. Oh, right. So demons, is that like, that seems like such a fun matchup too, right? That's so thematic. Um, have you do you have a lot of reps into demons now, or?
Well, I play in my club actually. I got one of the best demon players in the country, and I play against him quite often
Oh
because
wow,
he
okay.
wants to. He likes to practice against me because he
Yeah.
wants to play well against Grey Knights, and every single night he gets beaten to death. Every single night he tries, he gets beaten to death. Is there's everything they do well? We got an answer for that.
Yeah.
They need psychic powers to be effective. Well, +1 to deny. And they got plenty of bodies. We got Stormbolt. We got Tide of Banishment. We got -2 leadership, and all that is for free.
Yeah.
We don't need to put any extra effort to got a lot of bonuses against them. So that's I mean, I haven't found any problems dealing with demons at this point. If
That's
they
awesome.
play, for example, a lot of big boys instead of a lot of infantry,
Uh-huh.
I just play things like behind enemy lines, and I do deep strike on his deployment zone,
Yeah.
and that's it. End of
Just
story.
farm, yeah. Farm
There you go.
some VP. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I haven't played them with the new Codex yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And then let's talk about, like Votann. They made a huge splash when that Codex leaked. Everybody said it's going to be the end of the world. They got nerfed before they were theoretically released. You said you're not having any problems with them, so
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
played against them, and it wasn't difficult to deal with them. It is true that they're really powerful, and one of those land fortresses, they can single shot one of your Dread Knights, and that is really true. There's nothing you can do about it. If they can see you, you're dead. End of story. But I have seen that for the moment, because of they got just a few data sheets, they are not capable to do plenty of stuff. They can only play in one way. They got the bikes, which move in the first turn. They're fast. They grab an objective. You kill them because they're not super difficult to kill, to be honest.
mhm.
Their infantry, they're fine, but they're just 1 wound each. Saving on force, you can throw them a bunch of Stormbolters and kill easily a quarter of the unit just with 10 with 5 strikes. Again, our Stormbolters now, thanks to the new meta, they're more effective than more expensive weapons. thanks to the amount of shots you're doing.
Yeah, and we just get them, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but land fortresses are an issue. The good thing is because they cannot fall back and shoot. I think they cannot fall back and shoot, or at least the players that I played with, they were not able to do it. There might be a way. You just need to tag them, combat, and be annoying.
See, this is where I have to look up everything
If there
on
is a way,
on Wahapedia, man. I don't think I don't think the land fortress can fall back and shoot. I think their infantry can, or they can fire. No, their infantry can fire into melee or something. Anyway, not the land fortress. So yeah, you can lock it up, but then whatever you've locked it up with is going to die.
yeah, but I
It's
mean,
a lot of shooting.
the land fortress is 300 points, so it's really
Yeah,
expensive.
that's true. That's true. And obviously, like Mortal Wounds, as a Votann player, I've played maybe half a dozen games with my Votann now, and yeah, I fear the I fear Mortal Wounds. There's nothing. They have no defense against it unless you
Yeah.
play the worst league in the book, or you do like get one upgrade for one character or whatever. There's no way to actually defend against Mortal Wounds. So you can just I know I'm I did a live bat rep with my buddy Zach when the Codex leaked, and I blew my Mortal Wounds librarian killed like 7 out of 10 Hearthguard in the psychic phase, and then the rest of them ran away. It was amazing, but I
Yeah.
blew away like 350 points with just my librarian effectively.
And there's nothing they can do about it,
Yeah.
like you say. And especially, I have seen that they are not especially good at screening you out. So you can always play maybe behind enemy lines. If you play behind enemy lines and they try to stay at their deployment zone, you won already. They need to get out and play, isn't it? They
Yeah.
cannot just sit down and stay in their deployment zone.
That's that's
They
fair.
need to deal with you.
Um so as an army with very little high strength or high AP anything, really, um, are how do you deal with knights? Like knights always seem you just ignore them until you can charge them, or
Are we talking about big knights or small knights?
yeah, I mean a knight's list is gonna have what? Generally speaking, it's gonna have what 6 to 9 of the little knights and 1 to 2 of the big knights, right?
Yeah.
Generally, yeah.
Normally, I'm not scared of the big knights. I can deal with them more easily because Grey Knight's already good at focusing it. So with big knights, I usually hide behind terrain. They can still be invisible
Mm.
and shoot them to death, smite them as much as possible, and especially using the librarian. Our librarian, in average, can deal 9 mortal wounds per psychic phase. That's almost, well, that's pretty much half a knight.
Yeah,
Well, not half a night,
that's
but
true. Close enough.
maybe
Yeah,
40% of a night,
yeah.
But I'm more scared of the small guys, to be honest. Especially the Imperial ones with the -1 damage. I hate them. I hate them, Rick.
The tiny
I hate
knights.
mine. Yeah, the army gears, warglaives, and halberines. The
Uh-huh.
Imperial Knights, they got access to a rule that gives the small ones -1 damage. And I hate the -1 damage. I
Yeah, our
hate it.
melee.
Oof.
Going from D3 to D2, or I'm sorry, going from D3 damage on our melee to just flat 2 was, I think, a really good choice, like design wise. Just it's
Mm,
faster, but it does make it so -1 damage. Like going into Death Guard, you're like, oh god,
horrible, yeah.
I need twice as many attacks as I did before just to know that I can kill this unit.
Yeah, against the small ones, I rely on smiting. I need my librarian close and then a bit of smiting. And also weight of dice, shooting with my Great Knights as much as I can.
Hmm.
But I struggle against lists like one big knight and 10 small ones. I really struggle against those kind of lists.
Yeah, they all have OBSEC now, right? Like the small
Yeah,
knights are
they're opposite
OBSEC
too.
and count as 5 models.
Yeah.
So if they tow in 2 of them, it's really hard to grab that
Oh
uh,
yeah.
objective. Um, okay, so is it? I mean, would you say probably knights is your roughest matchup, or that's just one where you have to be really careful?
Difficult to answer this. I would say you need to be careful. It's not easy, to be honest. Matchups with -1 damage, I think, are the most difficult ones for us at the moment. Uh, I would say, yeah, that kind of list, from my point of view, at least, because the way I play, I rely on killing small units with teleport assault, and the list with 10 small knights is a big problem for my playstyle.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's an excellent point. Because so in a knights matchup, are you gonna? I mean, you're gonna take bring it down, obviously,
Of
but
course, yeah.
but so would you take bring it down in place of teleport assault?
No, I will take actually. I will take killing vehicles. I will take purifying ritual, and I
Okay,
will take
that's
behind
similar.
enemy lines.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
will basically, I will play my game. You
Okay.
know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're playing like Sindri is asking if you're playing it cagily then, which it sounds like you're gonna be a little cagey.
Not really. Against knights, I prefer to play on their deployment zone. So I will put a lot of deep strike and deploy everything on their zone.
Beautiful. I mean, that's yeah. I I have no counter for that. That makes
I like
perfect
to call
sense.
it.
Why
I like
wouldn't
to
you?
call it the sandwich. You know, like
Yeah. I mean, they can't. Yeah. I mean,
they cannot
hammer
screen
and
you out.
anvil. Yeah, they can't screen you at all. So the world is your oyster at that point. You're just gonna drop anywhere you want. What's the dog walker list? It's like Abaddon and 9 of the Chaos Knights. Is that they call it? It's like dog walker. Because it's all the war
I
dogs.
think so. I haven't seen that list
Hmm.
since ages ago, but I don't struggle against that so much because I believe I'm almost sure that Chaos Knights don't have access to -1 damage. So as long as they don't have the -1 damage, I'm totally fine.
Yeah, cool. I haven't played the new Knights Codex either. I really need to get out to more RTTs. It's a great way to just get 3 games in one day. So
Well, you need to get out in general, Rick.
at all, thanks, man. That feels that feels really good. Uh, so what I mean, so knights, and I think Sindri is actually asking here. This is going back a little bit with the demons matchup. You know, the big thing are those deep striking flamer bombs. How do you deal with those? You just tank them in the face and then hope you don't
Yeah,
die, or yeah,
yeah. Basically, I yeah hold my teeth, hold tight, and normally what I always do is as soon as the guy casts the +1 to wound, I use 1 CP to deny with 3 dice. You cannot let that power go. If that power is casted, you are fucked. But if you stop the guy casting that power, you don't. There is not really nothing to worry about. It's a lot of impacts, a lot of hits. That's fine.
yeah,
That's true. But he's
it's
wounding on threes,
a
and his
lot
AP. It's a
of
lot,
damage
but it's AP.
per
It
attack.
was AP2, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
if you are in cover, you are saving on twos. AP2 armor of contempt. You're saving on threes.
that's
They're
not
not.
bad.
They're gonna kill a couple of models. So
Yeah,
you know.
assault D6 plus 3, range 12
Hmm.
inches, strength is 5, AP minus 2, damage 1, and then they have a CP strat where if you have 11 or more models, which we never ever do, so whatever,
Yeah.
but it can become maximum number of attacks, I think. Yeah, yeah. Which won't ever come into play with Grey Knights ever. I don't think there's a single thing we can bring in the whole codex that goes over 10 models, but
No,
I mean, I
we
guess you
don't
could
have access
bring
to something like that.
you could you could soup in guard, bring a bunch of guardsmen, but Anyway, yeah. So that's a lot. I mean, that I can't believe those are 25 points each. That's a good unit. Um,
It is too good.
and they have fly.
And they move
Yeah.
a lot, and they are assault, so they can also advance and shoot. It's it's too much.
Well, I mean, yeah. I I feel that when the Demons book came out, um, I read a lot about it, and I feel like their troops, their like general just base troops, are really expensive,
They are.
and their flamers are too cheap. Eh, All of their big monsters seem really cool, super flavorful. A lot of them are really good, like the Lord of Change, and the pumped up Bloodthirster is just like an absolute menace. Um, but yeah, I feel like if they can get those two things in line, if they can lower like the cost of, plague bearers and the bloodletters and stuff, that might help bring them back into alignment a bit. But
Yeah, I think the Demon's Codex doesn't have a good internal balance for the moment. You can only see Demon players playing exactly the same units
mhm,
in every single one of the lists you can see on the internet. It's always the same because they don't have better options, which is a shame.
yeah.
But we will see what happens with the new balance data slate.
When is that supposed to hit? Do we know yet?
I think it's a new year, isn't it?
Okay, so January.
Mm.
Anybody in the chat, you let me know when the next data slate's supposed to be out. So I had a whole question in here where I was going to ask you. I mean, I guess we got into it a little bit with the new factions that have been released or updated. I was going to talk about what you thought the new Grey Knight meta was, but it sounds like you didn't really change your list, your meta much at all. Just your mental like processes of how you actually attack and like play the game. So um, we don't have to have that discussion at all because you didn't really change anything.
Well,
you
to be
you
honest, I
just
think
adapted.
if you pay attention to the Grey Knights Codex and data sheets we have access to, our faction is not about what you are playing, it's about how you are playing it. We got just a few data sheets, isn't it? And just a couple of different weapons. It's all the same. It's about what Brotherhood you're gonna play, what psychic powers you're gonna use, what stratagems you're gonna use. But the list itself is always gonna be the same,
Hmm.
or with small changes, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I mean, Mr. Jam asked about this earlier, and this has been a pet project of mine. I felt like the Codex overall, the Brotherhoods didn't do a whole lot for us. Other books came out that had a lot more options for whatever cult you picked, or whatever, uh, yeah, whatever legion. You got relics, you got psychic powers, you got all these cool options, and then for us, we got a warlord trait, a psychic power, and a stratagem. And in most cases, the Brotherhoods, two of those are good, and the other one is trash, generally speaking. And you see, like the only Brotherhoods you see playing right now are Prescient Brethren, and occasionally you see rapiers or sword bearers, but
Yeah.
that's it. Um, don't see. I mean, I've never seen anybody play the Silver Blades at all. You know.
Well, and
So
if you see somebody playing that, you will most probably think this guy doesn't know what he's doing, right?
I mean, playing just for fun is totally cool
Yeah.
too. But I guess that was a really, really, really long-winded way of me saying, "Are you sure that like Grey Knights don't need anything? Like, is there something in the Codex that's always bothered you? Like for me right now, the Titan Sword, it doesn't ignore demon saves anymore because the
Yeah.
wording is demons can't take invulnerable saves, but they don't take invulnerable saves anymore. They have demon saves. So like that's an obvious one that needs to just get patched. That's a silly bug, right? In the in the rules. Is there anything like that that stands out to you in the Grey Knight's Codex that drives you crazy? Silver Blaz.
Well, that's the main thing. I think everybody agrees with you that that's something that says Games Workshop doesn't care about Grey Knights at all. Because we have had data slates, we have had FAQs, and it seems that nobody in Games Workshop notices it, that there is a warlord trait or a weapon that is broken. It doesn't work. It's not working. Guys, fix this. We're waiting for that. It's our relic, or was it a warlord trait or a relic? It was a warlord trait, wasn't it?
For
Ignoring vulnerable saves against demons.
it's a warlord trait called
Warlord trait. Demon Slayer, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Why in hell we got a warlord trait that is called Demon Slayer that doesn't work against demons? Could
because
somebody explain me
it,
that?
it's a it's a crazy complicated game, right? And the wording matters a lot. And the wording says they can't take invulnerable saves, which before they got their book was pretty decent, right? Like you run up with a Grandmaster on a Nemesis Dread Knight with the big hammer into like, a Lord of Skulls or whatever. It's like you don't get to save. Just
Yeah.
take whatever damage I hit you with.
To be honest, something that I would like to see fixed in the Codex, is something linked to what I expect to see in the 10th edition for Grey Knight. Do you want me to join those two sections?
Let's do it. Yeah, that was going to be
Okay.
my next question. So
So basically, what I have seen from the Imperial Guard Codex is that they have get rid of the subfaction. Now, subfactions are basically something that they only give you access to a certain stratagem. But that's pretty much it. You can mix different subfactions like Catachans, Death Corps, Cadia. You can mix all of them together on the same army. There's no problem at all.
they're
If you
going to
got
do
a
that
Catachan,
in 10th?
no, great. Imperial Guard Codex is already like that.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You can play Catachans and Cadians as part of the same army, no problems at all. All of them get access to the same, like rule you have taken for your army. But then the Catachans, they got access to a certain stratagem that is only for Catachan.
Mm-hmm.
Cadians get access to Cadian stratagems. Also, they get discount prices for stratagems for Cadia.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks to that, you get certain, you know, advantages if you take in a certain kind of subfaction units.
Right.
But doesn't mean that you're getting blocked of getting all the different units. So what I would like to see for the Grey Knights, it will be something like that, with Baldus and Brother Captain Stern, which are from the Warmakers Brotherhood. I
Yeah.
love those two characters. They're amazing, but you cannot take them
No.
because they are part of a Brotherhood that nobody plays.
Yeah.
So I would love to see a book that gives you access to every single named character, which unfortunately 50% of our named characters are coming from the same Brotherhood because we only got four.
Yeah. That's true.
I would like to have access to them. Doesn't matter what kind of subfaction I'm playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I will say, if you take, let's say, on the 10th edition, I would like to see a codex where you can mix units. Let's say these strikes are from the Brotherhood 3.
Gotcha. Yeah.
These interceptors are from Brotherhood 7. And then those guys will have access to the stratagems of their Brotherhood, but only them.
Right. Yeah. So this is kind of like what I was with my last Brotherhood redesign video. I'm gonna be doing an army of renown like idea, and this is one of the ideas that I had, but it was because all of those paladins and purifiers were pulled from other brotherhoods first, so they've learned how to fight with that brotherhood. So that would be really really cool. Um, we see the same kind of thing with the demons army too. Like you don't have to bring two detachments. You can just mix and match like Nurgle and Khorne
Yeah.
or whatever. You can bring any demons units, and you don't have to have anything crazy. Like it's not a Nurgle like patrol and a Corn, uh, like Vanguard or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, that's neat. I didn't know that about the Militarum
Yeah.
book.
And also
Uh,
they got something really good, like the new Kaiserkin units. They got a rule that they can access a different detachment rule, different to the rest of your army,
hmm,
and that's something that I would love to see on Paladins.
that's just like Death Watch. Pick your
Yeah.
chapter type. Go. Yeah, I love it. Um, do you think the possibility of bringing back two Grandmaster Dread Knights is a thing? I don't. That was always a little weird from like a lore perspective. Have two Grandmasters on the field at the same time, and then
To be
like you could
honest,
even bring in Kaldor Drago, and it's like wow, that's a
well,
lot.
Calder Trigo can be anywhere
Yeah,
because
yeah,
he's
right.
amazing. But
Yeah, I
to
just
be
thought
honest,
like
I like that restriction. I like it. I
I
don't
did.
like. I'm against what is called the hero hammer. I
Okay,
like to play with normal troops, so I
yeah,
like to
I
see
got you.
the smallest amount of characters as possible.
Nice. Yeah. Dominic saying, please give honored knights something a little bit more of a sneak peek into my Army of Renown idea. It's all about honored knights and making them good and making that keyword matter. But that video coming soon. Um, I one of the things I really want to see, and this is a total like okay. First of all, I want to see our apothecaries and our chaplains be better. The fact that we don't have access to those upgrades, like we can't be a chief of apothecary, and we can't be and our tech marines can't be a master of the forge. Our chaplains can't be a wise orator or a master of sanctity. Those kinds of upgrades, I would love to see those because you might see those those characters used a lot more if you did, especially the chaplain. Because casting your litany on three, only having access to one of them, and then not being able to reroll is super hard, and it's already a 110 point model. So, yeesh. Um, but for me, I'd love to see an Interceptor HQ. I'd love to see an HQ with the Interceptor backpack running around being obnoxious. I think that would be awesome.
It could be if you. I mean, unfortunately, there is not really much we can design for Grey Knights
Oh
because
yeah.
it is what it is.
Oh,
So
absolutely. No, no. This is all theoretical. This is entirely theoretical, right? Like, what would you like to see? Everything after that is a theoretical conversation. So
well,
cool.
I will always like to see more rules than more units because I don't think Grey Knights are gonna get new units,
Yeah, that's
but the deeper layers of rules and especially the flexibility to have access to the rules of different detachments depending on what kind of opponent you're playing with. That's something that will be very good for our faction.
yeah. And that'd be fun too. Making you make more choices is generally speaking.
Actually, that's something that I miss from the 8th edition, where you could pick your relic and your warlord trait before the game, not before sending the list to the tournament
Oh,
organizer.
was that a thing in eighth, or was that before eighth?
Yeah, in 8th edition, after after seeing your opponent's list, you could say, okay, I'm gonna pick this relic and I'm gonna pick this warlord trait.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that
That
was
was
a
a
thing ever.
that was amazing. That was really, really good. That was the moment where the good players, made the right decision because the good players knew their codex from A to Z, and they
Yeah.
knew what to take up against the right opponent.
Huh. Very cool. I did not even know that was a thing. I thought you always kind of had to pick. But then again, this game's been a game for what, 34 years or something, so
Yeah.
35 years. So lots of rules changes in that amount of time. I'm gonna ask again if you guys have any questions about anything, please throw it in the comments, and we'll get to it. I think I've answered every single question. I don't think I missed anything. Um, and then, gosh, I mean that's. Oh, how was the London GT itself? Because usually we go into your matchups, but I don't want to get super in the weeds like that. But how'd it go?
It was nice, really fun. To be honest, the opponent's level was really high. There were really good players over there. My first defeat actually was against the best orc player in the world. I think it was Paul Bridge. I think
Wow,
he was called,
that's
and there was nothing I could do against him. He had a lot of commandos, a lot of trucks, a lot of snagger boys, a lot of squish. The riders, I don't know how they're called. Those orc
the
riders,
squig hog whatever's.
squig riders, something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and he had so many bodies, and I couldn't deal with so much. There was so many troops running towards me. I couldn't do nothing, and the guy was scoring like this. He was scoring points all the time. I didn't even know what was going on.
It's
And I didn't stand a chance against that list, especially because he had a really powerful alpha strike and he went first, and that was really important for him.
what was his? I'm sorry. Orcs with a powerful alpha strike that hasn't been a thing since the squig buggies.
Yeah,
When
yeah, I know.
what
But
what was his
uh,
list? So
he
interesting.
was playing. He was playing. What was he playing? Evil Santh, I think that one that gives extra movement and extra charge, something like that.
Huh. Okay.
And the guy was playing a bunch of commandos, and because he went first, he threw at me 15
Uh.
commandos to my face, and then he advanced it with everything. And by the at the time when I was able to kill those commandos, he was already on my deployment zone.
Wow. That's
Yeah, with
that's
everything.
incredible. Yeah. I mean, best orc player in the world, right? So. that's
And
that's
my
awesome.
second, it was a three victories, two defeats. Fortunately, the last second defeat it was against one of the best Tyranids player, playing Leviathan pre nerf.
Yeah.
So we're
Pre nerf.
talking
Yeah.
about serious business, and I lost because of 1 point, just 1 point. I was
Really?
playing. Yeah, it was so. I was playing so well. Everything was going so good. The guy took warp ritual, and I was constantly denying the warp ritual. I was keeping the distance. I was dealing with him really well. Deep striking tactical units behind his lines, killing his psychers. Exactly what I needed to do. But on the very last round, the guy casted a warp ritual with 13 because he had those casting bonuses.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the moment when I said, okay, well, congratulations, you won the game. There's nothing I can do. I cannot deny a power with a cast level of 13.
Yeah. That's
So that was it.
yeah. That's a Nids are a hard matchup for me, but I've managed to
Needs are
pull.
really difficult.
I've managed to eke out a few wins, but it never feels good, right? Like you
Yeah.
are clawing for every single point, trying not to die. They're
Yeah, you're
they're
literally sweating blood when you're
yeah,
playing
and you're
Tyranids.
-1 to cast for a lot of the time. It's just it's rough. Yeah,
Yeah, and even if you say, well, we got a +1 to deny, it doesn't matter. They got +3 to cast.
yeah.
They
They
don't
don't.
care about
Yeah.
your minus +1 deny.
Yeah. Uh, Dominic would like if you would go into your deployment strategy. This is a great question because this is one of my weakest parts of my game as well. So, how do you deploy against ranged in general, and then how do you deploy against like Tau, and how do you deploy against mostly melee armies like orcs or blood angels?
Well, my deployment, to be honest, is always the same. I don't want to be seen on the first turn. I'm always hiding. And what I usually do is because I have the free redeployment for 3 units, I always do what is called a fake deployment. So I always deploy 3 units first, which I know they're not going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives me this, some time to, wait and see what is the opponent doing. Then what I do is normally I hide everything and I leave those 3 units in the open. And if I go first, I leave the units
Yep.
and I reposition them. And if I go second, they go back to behind line of sight. That's what I always do.
Okay. That's the same. That's the same thing. I guess the so really it's all about I don't know what I mess up the most in deployment is just making sure that my units are within auras. You know, like if my plan is to have Caldor give a unit, you know, all rerolls, and then I'm out of range to do that, right? Like that's and I know you're laughing because that is like a beginner mistake, but like these are the mistakes I make in deployment. It's like, oh shit, I put that unit on the wrong side of the board because that's where I saw the space, so I hit it there, but now it's, you know, across the deployment zone from the unit that's supposed to gate it or whatever, right? So, but you're
Normally,
saying you don't change anything.
not really. Normally, what it helps a lot, especially when you're learning, it's drawing yourself like a mental map of your deployment and subdivide your deployment in a small subsections. So let's say you divide your deployment zone into the central area, right flank, left flank, and then you subdivide your deployment and you think, for example, in my case, I got my paladin bubble with the apothecary and the librarian, and that's 4 units, right? So I think, where this guy is gonna be deployed? Left flank, right flank, or central?
Okay, I see.
When you decide
So,
where they're gonna go, you don't even need to think about ranges because you're gonna deploy all of them on the same subsection.
yeah,
So that helps a lot to save time, play faster, and to avoid making deployment mistakes. Because all those units are always gonna be together.
makes sense. Yeah, it's great. So, like I'm a really like visual learner. So
Mhm.
I was just like thinking what might help me out a lot is taking those units and actually putting them in front of me physically and seeing what that kind of like how
Mhm.
big that units or that block of units that has to be
Mhm.
together, how big their like footprint is, and then you can kind of mentally see that when you look at your terrain and your deployment zone. Um,
Yeah,
so interesting.
that's a really good exercise.
Yeah. Thanks. I should actually do those things
That's
now.
fine. The first lesson is for free. The second one is
Uh-oh.
£5 per per lesson.
Oh no. Oh, 5 pounds per lesson. Well, that that's probably worth it then. Um, yeah, man. So what's up with the what's in your future? I mean, you just haven't had a lot of life changes, but like when's your next tournament? You're
Well,
not
now
changing your
for the
list now.
moment, no, for the moment now I'm quiet again, so I can focus on playing more Warhammer, and I'm still gonna play my Grey Knights list, and I'm gonna try to go to more tournaments. But I'm starting to play Harlequins as well, basically because I
Mm,
always liked them, and I finally found the time to start an army. But also it gives me a lot of insight of how they work,
yeah, for
and that's
sure.
useful when I'm gonna go for the big tournaments with my Grey Knights.
Hmm.
Let's see what happens in January with Imperial Guard, which is also one of my armies. But I think that I will keep going to the big tournaments with Grey Knights because my goal is always be the best of faction Grey Knights player. I don't care about the general rankings. I'm never gonna be a Manichima or a people like that. I have something called life, so I don't
Yeah,
have the
you'll
time
never.
for that.
Yeah, you'll never
But
be
I want to
a
be
Jack
a
Harpster.
Grey Knights. I want to be a big Grey Knights player. That's my goal.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, any plans for LVO or anything? I know that's a long flight and everything, very
Oh,
expensive.
to be, I have never been in America. I don't know if it will be a good idea to be there first time in Las Vegas for a Warhammer tournament.
What? Why?
No, is it?
Why?
No, I don't know. I was thinking about doing the Route 66 the first time I went to the States, but if you're telling me that Las Vegas is better than that, I could do that.
Oh man, this is opening up so many non Warhammer related lines of questioning. Uh, So Vegas is a lot of fun. I'll just leave it at that and then give you a little piece of advice. If you're on the strip, if you're in any of the big casinos, in fact, if you're in any casino, just remember everybody's friendly, but they want your money. You know, like it's a transactional situation. But I had a blast last year at LVO. I won't be able to make it this year, but absolutely great time, awesome games. Like everybody was super friendly. Yeah. So if you
Yeah,
did want to
one
travel here for a Warhammer tournament, that's not a bad one to
I
hit.
know one day definitely I need to go to an Las Vegas Open. That's something that is on my bucket list. When
Hmm.
I still don't know, but like you said, if I'm gonna go for a Warhammer tournament in the States, that's gonna be Las Vegas Open.
Gotcha. Hey Ken, good morning. Thanks for joining us, man. Uh, yeah. So, I mean, gosh, I guess I mean, you're in the UK, so it's pretty easy to travel around then there, right? I mean, how many majors are coming up?
Ooh, they're coming a bunch of them. Actually, the thing is because I'm part of the Order Hispanicus community, I'm the captain of the team, and we
Oh,
usually attend teams tournaments. And I'm quite focusing on teams tournaments rather than singles tournament.
that's awesome.
So in February there is the ITT, the International Teams Tournament,
Hmm.
but unfortunately I'm not gonna be able to attend because I'm gonna go to my honeymoon, which I believe is more or less the same important. So I will go there. And then in May we're gonna go to the Birmingham Teams Tournament as well. In between, I would like to attend a few GTs. So the schedule is looking busy for the next year.
Yeah, we're here in the Pacific Northwest. We have an RTT every weekend this month, except the Christmas weekend, and we already have a couple GTs on the books, and there was a GT last weekend, or actually two of them. Which is super cool because when I started playing, there were like no tournaments going on out
Oh,
here. It was all Garage Hammer. I mean, also when I started playing, it was this thing called COVID. Um,
oh, yeah, the apocalypse, you mean?
yeah, exactly.
Well, luckily for me, to be honest, in England, which is compared with the States, is a tiny territory. You
Yep.
can attend a really major GT with an amazing, astonishing level of playing every month. So you can go to the Leicester GT, then the Coventry GT, the Manchester GT, then in every single month you go to one of those events. And it's
Uh,
always a good opportunity to go there and learning a lot because every game you learn loads.
yeah, I mean, the best way to learn and why, if anybody's listening to this that hasn't gone to an RTT yet, you should definitely go. It is the best way to get in 3 games in one day. You're gonna meet a lot of cool people. You're gonna have a great time. And you'll probably play against armies that your friends don't play. If you have two
Absolutely,
or
yeah.
three friends you play against all the time, that's great. Like that's fantastic. But you're only gonna see a certain subset of the armies.
Yeah,
So if you go to a
I
tournament,
always
though,
like to
you're gonna
I
see
always
everybody.
like to use a really funny example, an historical example. If you always play with a group of friends, what is going to happen to you? It will be the same as Japan after the Second World War, where they were still using katanas and samurais, while the United States were using machine guns. So if you always play against the same guys, you're gonna be narrow-minded. And if
Right.
you all play with a lot of different people, you're gonna develop faster and you're gonna become better players way quicker than if you stay with your local group of friends. You're always gonna be playing the same tactics. You're gonna specialize against a couple of armies
Right.
and you're gonna become weird. You're gonna become weird and small. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So everybody has a chance to attend a tournament, go to a tournament. Don't be afraid. You're gonna get your ass beat. You're gonna get your ass beaten for sure. That's gonna happen. But that's the way you learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So speaking of learning. If there are any newer Grey Knight players out there listening to this tournament or this interview, either now or later, what do you suggest that they do? Grey Knight specific, um, other than getting your reps, right? Like everyone knows that one, but like, what are some things that you think that new Grey Knights players should really focus on?
Well, they should focus on. Well, I will say it's focus on exploring the possibilities of your psychic phase. Don't stick with 2, 3 different psychic powers and repeat. Try to take as all the list of powers you got. Try every single one of them. For example, the Praesian Brethren, the Brotherhood power, the one
Yep.
for mortal wounds in movement. I thought that was a stupid power until I tried, and I realized that against the right opponent is the best psychic power we got.
You're just trying to make me feel bad, aren't you?
Yes, in front of the whole audience, basically.
From earlier when I was like, I don't even know what that power is. I don't remember. And then
It's amazing, Rick.
All right. Are there any questions in chat? We've been going for an hour and a half now. This was a lot more free-form interview than I usually have. This was more of a conversation. We jumped all over the place. I don't know how I'm gonna add timestamps to any of this.
Yeah, I'm a bit chaotic with my interviews.
No. It's just the conversation. So, any questions in there? Now's your last chance before I let Jose go back. So you're off today, right?
Yeah, yes, I'm off today. I
Okay.
took the day off today.
Nice. Where are you going for your honeymoon?
I'm going to the Maldives.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, those are the opportunities you have that I don't. Like for me to get over there and go to all of these places is, wildly expensive.
Oh, come on, you have highway over there. Don't complain.
I mean, yeah, but can't drive across the ocean. A little difficult.
Well, I cannot drive to Maldives either.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Um, so yeah, I don't see any questions in chat. I'm I think I'll let you go, man. Thank you so much again. You've really. Oh, here we go. Here comes Sindri with the last question.
Okay.
Are falchions ever a viable choice?
Phew. Yes, if you want to do something really crazy like playing 10 guys with Hammerhead and the Tide of Convergence. But it's
And
up to you,
words of
mate. If you
power.
want to waste those points, it's up to you.
Yeah, I wish those had a +1 attack for each one that you bought. That might help offset it,
Well,
but
if I'm honest
pretty
with you,
bad.
you can always, if you play, for example, in a small tournament in a meta you already know, and you know that the best couple of guys they got something like, for example, Death Guard, and they're playing Mortarion, things like that, and you know that you need to defeat those guys to win the tournament. You can play 10 guys with Falcons, Chaplain, with the Words of Power and Rapiers, and you can single shot one
Yeah,
Mortarion in one melee turn, for example.
yeah.
But that's obviously it does something really specific.
Yeah. I played my Iron Warriors buddy. This is back before they had a Codex, and he was running his Brass Scorpion all the time. And he wanted me to run that list and see what it could do. And I'm like, all right, here you go. Like falchions, rapiers, words of power, chaplain. And I went in there and I did exactly enough damage to just one shot the whole scorpion.
Yeah.
Like it was just enough, but it was epic. And he's like, "What is going on?"
Great nights, baby.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So, uh, Dominic's asking, what are your most commonly used stratagems, and when are you using them? He's assuming in turn 1 you're going to use the 3d6 to cast and +1 to cast. But what else? Like obviously the prescient like Brethren stratagem is amazing. So you'll use that a
Normally, yeah.
lot.
In the first turn, I shunt the Grandmaster, and then depending on what I'm fighting against, I might use the casting twice. So I want to cast the +1 damage Gate of Infinity. The strategy that I use the most is casting power with 3 dice, especially when I'm playing the librarian and I really want to kill what is in front of me.
Yeah.
And the Brotherhood stratagem, like you say, rolling ones to hit, rolling ones to wound, is amazing. And then the ones that I don't use so often, but I use, they're important to me. It's +1 strength, +1 AP to the weapons on the
Psychic
Red Knight.
onslaught, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's sometimes, depending if you're shooting something, for example, with toughness. For example, if you shoot in the transports, Harlequins, they're toughness 6, toughness 5. If you use that strategy and then you're Gatling in the Dread Knight is strength 6, and then you're wounding on 3s.
Yeah, that's
And if you, for
so.
example, shooting something with toughness 8, your big cannon with toughness strength 9, those are the situations.
And there are currently toughness 9 chaos land raiders out there right now too. So
yeah, and the new Rogaldorn tank from Imperial Guard.
Oh, is that T9?
T9.
Oh, I just thought it was gonna bring crazier guns. I didn't know it was T9.
No.
That's insane.
And another stratagem that I always tell everybody to use, the one that you deal mortal wounds every time you roll a 6 to save, if you set to defend.
Oh yeah, that's a really good stratagem.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
If you're playing it. Yeah.
Oh, so you're the one that actually blew my mind when I talked to you last time about there's the man, I can't remember the name now, but there's that upgrade. It's like a visions upgrade.
Honorable death.
Yes, that's it. And you can actually set to defend in the middle of like an objective in the open, which then you can use that stratagem. And you can, it's really good into single wound models, like
it's really good
like
against
witches or whatever.
Stealers, for example, is really good against them, and it's really good against Harlequins. Twilight is the new sub-faction that the Harlequins players are playing now. It's basically +1 attack, so every troop it's 5 attacks. Wow. So if they throw at you maybe 10 troops, is 50 attacks, or 60 if they're using swords. For 1 CP, you can basically wipe out the whole unit.
That's amazing.
Just rolling saves.
Yeah, that's a really good statement. What is the name of that?
I always forget
Grey Knights stratagems.
Martial something.
Martial Prescience? Yes, Martial Prescience. Use this stratagem in the fight phase when a Grey Knight's unit that is set to defend is selected as the target of an attack made by an enemy model. Until the end of the phase, each time an unmodified save roll of 6 is made for a model in that unit, after the attacking model's units have finished its attacks, that model's unit takes 1 mortal wound. So, yeah, that is, so they run up, do 60 attacks, you roll 10 6s on average on your saves, and that's 6 mortal wounds that you just did.
Yeah.
For 1 CP. Pretty good.
1 CP, yeah.
Dominic's also asking, would you change Unyielding Anvil from your Apothecary to a Noble Death if you had the points?
No.
Yeah, Unyielding Anvil is an incredible warlord trait.
What I will do, if I had the points, I will have the I will have the both of them.
Yeah.
Because a Noble Death, it makes your models to count as double amount of models.
Yep. And you can set to defend in the middle of nowhere, which is pretty good. All right. Well, it's been an hour and 40 minutes, sir. Thank you again. And thank you everybody for showing up. I think this is one of the best interviews we've had in terms of like audience asking questions. This is amazing. Like this is why we do it live. So, um, all right, I'll let everybody go. Don't forget like, subscribe, all that jazz. And call your mother. I'm serious.